Okay, recording is on. Let's call this meeting to order. First item on the agenda is the consent agenda, which includes the minutes and the agenda itself. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda? Not hearing you, Sharon.
I'll have a motion to approve.
Okay, and I see a second.
Okay, you're still on mute, Sharon.
All right, so we have a motion and a second. And so with that, we'll open it for public comment. 1 minute per comment on the consent agenda. Let me see if I can get my timer to work here. It may look backwards. I apologize for that. All right. Who's first? Gail? Who do you want? Jim? Do we want to go with Jim Walsh first?
Yep.
Okay.
Then Clifford Weiler.
Okay, Jim?
We have to open the queue.
Jim, you should be able to unmute and speak.
Still muted. Can we unmute him? Let's see.
No, he'll have to unmute himself.
Let's try Clifford Weiler then.
Okay. All right, Clifford.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Last meeting, I asked about the legal authority for your committee.
Okay, really quick, Jim, this is for the consent agenda. We'll have public comment in a bit.
I thought this was public comment.
No, this is any comments on the consent agenda, approval of the minutes or agenda.
Oh, okay. I'll wait.
All right, no problem.
Is anybody? I don't see anybody for public comment on that.
Yeah. Bob Daniel.
Daniel, yeah.
Okay, Bob, you should be able to unmute yourself.
On the agenda, I believe there was something tabled from the first meeting at the Mission Hills Library, and I believe it had something to do with demonstrating the election software. Will that be included in the agenda item 6?
No, I didn't copy that back over this time. We can do it at a future meeting again.
Okay.
Okay, anybody else for public comment on the minutes or the agenda?
Okay, if there are no others,
Yep.
Now that we have three of us, I'll,
Are you back on your? Try that, see if you say something.
Sharon, you're
Can
on.
you,
Yes,
you can hear me now?
we
yes.
can hear you now.
Hey, thank you.
With,
Okay, but we had talked
it's
about
gotta be a better way to
Okay.
set this up for the timer. Anyway. All right, okay, with that, let's go ahead and take a vote. Since we have all three of us back, I'll abstain. And since we have both of you as either a mover or a second, motion passes. Consent agenda is agreed. Okay, now we're into non-agenda public comment. As we have in the past, 1 minute per. I'll try and keep a video of a 1 minute timer on the screen.
So let's go to Clifford, since he was ready to go.
So who? Clifford?
Clifford? Yes.
Clifford, you're up. Did you still want to comment, Cliff? Okay.
Clifford Weiler?
Did I not get him up there? Hang on, that was my problem. Sorry. There we go.
I see him. He's up there.
Can you hear me now?
Yep. Hi.
Yep, we
Okay.
can. That was my problem. Go ahead.
Okay. Last meeting, I questioned the authenticity and the viability of the existence of this committee, and nobody seemed to be able to answer it at that time. So I looked into it myself. The city council actually amended 600-24 so that in terms of your legal viability to exist, there is authority, and I wanted to clear that up. In terms of the other legal issues, I did not research them, but you're allowed to exist.
All
Happy
right.
to hear that. Thank you, Cliff.
Sure.
Thank you. I have Janet O'Day.
Hang on. This is a little fun.
I bet.
Janet O'Day, add to the participation list. Okay, Janet, you're on. Are you able to unmute your mic?
Janet O'Day.
Okay. We'll
How
come
about,
back to her.
how about Lou Railing?
All right, hang on. All right, Lou, you're up.
Hi, let me know if you can't hear me. I understand that you're recording this call and this meeting, and I'm assuming the link will be to the recording will be on the website later today or early tomorrow. If not, you can let me know that at the end of my time. I also would ask that you make the chat available to people on the meeting, and that you also make the participant list available to people on the meeting so we can know who else is here and communicate in other ways because of the time limits on speaking. Finally, on this non-agenda public comment, I want to address the issue of the difference that I don't see between Vibrant Uptown and this committee. And an important example of that is that's relevant to the work that you'll be doing today, but not on the agenda, is last meeting, Zach Thompson said that on behalf of Vibrant Uptown, completely separate from this committee, he would be proposing amendments to the operating procedures. And he indicated one of those would have to do with term lengths. Nevertheless, although that's supposedly completely separate, being done by Vibrant Uptown and certainly has not yet been approved in any way, you're including a changed list of term limits, not what's in the operating procedures, in your list of election procedures for today. There doesn't appear to be the daylight between this election committee and Vibrant Uptown that has been stated. Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's see. Can we go back to Janet O'Day?
Hang on, I can do that. All right, Janet, you're up. You can unmute yourself.
Janet O'Day.
Okay,
Can
Janet.
you hear?
Yes, no.
Okay, great. Thanks. I was calling because, or I wanted to just talk to you about a little bit about what maybe Bob Daniel was referring to, and that was that the software that you're going to use, it seems to indicate that if anyone wants to vote, that they have to submit their driver's license or a passport or electric bill. And I'm really concerned about the security of this because it seems to me that I really don't mind showing my neighbors my driver's license if I have to present a ballot and I can just put it back into my pocket and don't have to worry about it being scanned electronically. But I feel very concerned about software that is affordable for you to do what you want to do. And yet what kind of security is it going to have for me and my neighbors in case they would get hacked? And everyone gets hacked. Big institutions get hacked as well as little ones that are vulnerable. So I hope that you'll go over the software that Bob Daniel had mentioned earlier to show and to provide what the security provisions are. And let's just say everything goes perfect. That's great. But what if it doesn't? So what provisions are you providing if it doesn't work out, if there's a security breach? Thank you for that.
Thank you, Janet.
Let's go to Wesley Morgan.
All right, Wesley, you're up. You should be able to unmute yourself.
Am I unmuted now?
You are.
Yes.
All right. I think there's a unmute twice process.
Oh, okay.
But anyway, want to thank this group for your tireless efforts. I know it's an enormous endeavor. There's still a lot of work ahead. I registered to vote earlier and thought it was a pretty seamless process. And I got the confirmation email minutes later. But I especially wanted to mention how great it is to see other members from all over Uptown starting to get involved, supporting and enabling our new CPG towards our common goal of having an impactful voice once again with the city. And I look forward to seeing this type of collaboration as we move forward and really hope this momentum continues. So thanks, everybody.
Great. Thank you, Wes.
I'll just check back to see if Jim Walsh is still on.
He commented, I think. He explained, see anybody else? No, he went through the legal,
That was Clifford Wilder.
oh, that was Cliff, right.
Yeah.
So Jim Walsh,
Oh, I don't think he's on the meeting anymore. So
did he leave? Yeah, I don't see him. Okay. All right, thank you, everybody. If you have additional comments and want to to send them via email, please do. Remember that public comments are generally just that, comments. The board will, or the committee will generally not respond to them directly. When we get into comments on further agenda items, you will still get a minute to speak, and then the committee members will get 2 minutes to speak, and the committee members may address the questions that are raised. All right. Is there anyone here from an organization who wants to make a report to the group? I don't see any elected official representatives on the list. And I don't know if anybody is from one of the neighborhood organizations who wants to make a comment. I know.
Michael Meacham has a raised hand.
All right. Michael, go ahead.
I just wanted to say that I'm with the parking district residential representative for Baker's Hill on uptown parking. I have no comment, but I just wanted to make folks that were listening aware that I was here. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Michael.
Karen Ebner has raised her hand.
All right. Karen, you're up. Sounds like there's a double unmute that has to happen on your end. All right.
Karen Ebner. Looks like
Yep.
she's just up now. Okay.
Yeah. All right. With that, we'll close community reports. Okay, we want to go through the procedures that have been written out and gather comment. What we'll do is we'll cycle through it very quickly, and then we'll take comments for potential changes or questions that you may have. It's not all that long, and it follows pretty much what's in the operating procedures. It's just adds some clarity to how this works with the electronic election. Let me bring that up. Okay, I think it's this one. Okay, if you can't read that, you can certainly follow along on the website. All right, the key points here, all seats will be considered as vacant for this initial election, unlike a regular cycle. Each seat is normally set up for a different election cycle, and to lose point, I have the old, or what we had intended to put in the operating procedures in here. I'll replace it with the one that's actually in the operating procedures. Um, and hopefully we can get that changed, or the new board can get that changed over time. We really didn't intend for example, both the Bankers Hill seats to come up at the same time. And that's what's going to happen with what's currently in the operating procedures. Business seats are at large. 5 are designated as open with a maximum distribution of 2 to a single neighborhood. We still, even if we get 10 people running from Hillcrest, which has the majority of the number of businesses, we wanted to make sure each of the community's neighborhoods is represented. So we put that distribution of 2 so that other neighborhoods can still be represented as businesses. 1 is elected from an eligible nonprofit, 501c3, C4, as the case may be. And then there are 2 appointed seats which will not be considered in this election. Those will be appointed by the board once elected and seated. So again, 18 vacancies. We will allow both in-person and online voting. All voting will be electronic. In terms of the concerns that was it Janet, I think, raised on retention of materials. Those materials are stored in Google Drive and will be deleted once the challenge period and all challenges are exhausted after the election. There's no intent to keep those. Google Drive is known to be fairly secure as long as we don't share the password widely, and we won't. However, if you're not comfortable with that, you can go to one of the in-person voting nights. All you have to do is show it. We won't upload it or take a picture of it at that point. So there is an option which allows you not to submit electronically your documents to prove that you're a qualified voter or candidate. Online voting will open. I'll adjust this because we did set the date. It's August the 8th. Online voting will open. Voter registration and candidate applications are both open at this point. Online registration closes 24 hours prior to the closing of the election, which means 8 p.m. on August the 19th. In-person registration will be offered up to 30 minutes prior to the close of voting. And of course, anybody who is in line at that point will still get to vote. The qualifications to be both a candidate and a voter are set primarily by the city. Let's see. Sorry.
Did you see? Okay. Got it. You got it.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, if you can get those, if anybody else joins, that would be great.
Yeah, I'm trying to catch them.
Yeah. I should have left it open rather than require the waiting room.
Oh.
I'll do that next time. All right, anyway. The only information to retain will be basic contact information to prevent multiple ballots being provided to the same individual or business. No other information to be retained. This is basically what I was explaining earlier. If you ask to be put on our mailing list, we'll retain that contact information, but that's just the name and email address. Registration did open June 15th. Ballots are dynamically generated by the system, but there is a different ballot for each neighborhood in that you vote for the property owner and renter seat within the specific neighborhood in which you live or your business is registered. And then, of course, the at-large seats are open to everyone. We will go through closer to the opening of the election, once we have the candidates input into the system, we'll run through the ballot publicly so that everyone can see what is there and what will be available on the ballot when the election is run. At the poll, there's potentially 2 tables set up. We're separating registration from voting. If you're already registered, you will have received, or you will receive either an email or a text, which has a link to your specific ballot through which you can cast your votes. If you register and vote on site, that information will be transferred to a shared tablet that we use, and you'll be somebody there to help you if you have any difficulty in navigating the ballot on that tablet. If you deleted the text or the email gets lost or deleted, we can what's called spoil the ballot and issue a new one. We would check to make sure that ballot has not been voted. We have no way of telling what anybody voted, just the fact that they did or did not cast their ballot. And so we can issue a new one because we do want everyone to vote who is registered. So that covers both registration and voting. The system tabulates the ballots. Once the election is closed, we will have access and we will make publicly available the statistics on how many votes everybody got, et cetera, across all of the neighborhoods. Challenges need to be filed in writing with the new chair within 24 hours following the announcement of the results. And at that point, there will be a board. They may or may not have elected their chair yet, but if you send it to the board, once the chair is elected, they will address it. And the process that's in the operating procedures will go forward from there. We will seat the board immediately following the election. If there is a challenge, then it's up to the board and the city to resolve those. This committee will disband. This is not a permanent committee. All right, so that's basically what's in there, and I will fix that. All right, so let's go ahead and open this up for questions and comments.
So I have Karen Ebner and then Clifford Weiler.
All right, hang on just a moment.
I will look at the queue here. Let's see.
I gotta find a better way to do this timer, but all right, Karen, you're up.
Yes, I already spoke, but I would like to know how many are participating today. I think it would give us a good sense of how many of us are in Uptown who are participating in this meeting today.
Sure. Let's see. I see 13 plus you plus the board.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Sorry, I didn't realize you couldn't see the participant list.
Okay, we have Clifford.
All right, hang on just a second. Let me catch up here.
Okay.
Clifford. Clifford, you're up.
Can you hear me yet?
Yes.
This is a practical problem, and it's a pet peeve of mine. I don't know how you're going to publicize these procedures for the ability to vote, since you probably have no budget, or maybe you do, I don't know. But I would hope that there's some hard copy ways of publicizing what's going on, because not everybody's going to look at their emails, and your list of emails is probably restricted to those who are interested. and there's a lot of people that may be interested that don't know what's going on. And if you put up signs, I would hope there'd be at least 2 signs posted in every separate division to notify people, but I don't know where you're going to get the money. I just think relying totally on electronics is not sufficient.
Great. Thank you for that.
And we have Janet O'Day.
Janet O'Day. Huh? All right, Janet, you're up.
Hi, I hope I have this figured out now.
You do.
Thank you. I wanted to ask you if you wouldn't mind taking another minute and explaining this grid, because I've tried to figure it out. And then today you said that there's 2 appointed seats and that there's open seats or at-large seats. And I'm not really understanding if I'm going to vote. I know that there's 2 people in my neighborhood. And so far, that's all I'm really figuring out. If for the average voter, could you please explain how many people would be on their ballot? And I'm not exactly understanding the reason why I wouldn't be able to vote for any seat. That still is a mystery. So if you could help explain some of those things, I'd really appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Are you going to answer that now, or do you want to?
Now we'll do it when we have our chance to talk.
Okay, we have Lou Railing.
All right, Lou, you're up.
Hi, I have sent this committee a list of questions and asked that they be answered today at the latest. I had wanted to share that list in the chat, but as I mentioned in my opening comments, we couldn't see either the participants list and we cannot use the chat. I'd appreciate you sharing that list of questions in the chat or on screen, and I'd appreciate you answering all of them today. I had also asked a question about whether a link to this recording will be available on the website tomorrow. And I would also appreciate you commenting on, you now say you're changing this table to not use the one that was the Vibrant Uptown was going to propose. Are you clarifying that they're no longer going to propose it? Your answer, you said, we, uncertain who that we is, Vibrant Uptown or Election Committee, because you use that pronoun for both, had intended to put it, but it will not change in the future.
Thank you, Lou.
Those are all if you could address all of the things I just brought up, I'd appreciate it very much.
Who's next?
We have Tom Malini.
All right. All right, let's see. How did that take? Oh, there we go. All right, Tom, you're up. I'll stop this. You need to unmute yourself.
Okay.
There you go.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, you have to hit it twice. You know, in the future, I would think most of us have got the bugs worked out with Zoom, and we're kind of new to Google Meet, so it may make more sense to use Zoom. I do think in-person meetings are better, and I think for many reasons in the future, these meetings probably should be in person. While there are remotes, it would be helpful to see the participants. I mean, Uptown is a community. I'd like to see who else is participating in our community. My main comment is I would ask the election committee to respond in writing to the questions from Lou. I think they're important questions. I think many other people have those questions. And if the answers could be provided in writing and put on the website, that would be very helpful. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Tom.
The next is Michael Meacham. Do I have that right?
Hang on just a second. See, there he is. Okay. Okay, Michael, you're on.
Just wanted to mention that while the meeting was going on, I registered and I tried earlier and it didn't work, but it worked perfectly. And I was happy to see that. So thank you. And I hope that answers or supports the comment made earlier. When I was preparing to do moderation for the group at Bankers Hill Community Group between the two groups before the election, I noticed something in the bylaws. I mentioned to Zach, and I haven't seen a new set of bylaws if they were amended, but in the old bylaws, there was a provision where when there's a failure to reach a quorum, that one of the appointed groups could vote. And I just pointed out, I would like to point out to the group, I think this is easily resolved if you do bylaw review and updates. But if you pick an agency that's a state agency like UCSD or the any other state organization within our boundaries, they have the ability to condemn property and they do not have any oversight by the city. The state
Okay,
architect
Michael, thank you.
Let's see. Did we already do Clifford? Clifford Wiley, and then I have Jim Walsh.
All right, I don't remember Clifford being on this one yet, so we can go ahead and do that. Go ahead, Clifford, you're up.
Actually, can you hear me?
Yes.
Actually, I did speak. I spoke about the need to publicize what's going on.
Okay.
Because my pet peeve about relying solely on electronics.
Yeah, chair error then. Go ahead anyway. You're on.
And let's see. The next is Jim Walsh.
All right. Let me. All right, Jim Walsh. All right, Jim, you're up. I think it takes two unmutes. For whatever weird reason. I'll give him another couple of seconds here and then we can come back to him before the end of the meeting if and give him one more shot. This looks like the last comment.
Yeah, I have no more hands raised after this.
All right, so Jim will give you another shot after a bit, but for the moment, just don't get too carried away, guys. I'll throw a specific timer on you because we had lots of questions. But Gail, do you want to go first?
So I guess I will respond to the question about doing everything electronically. We have been putting signs up and also requesting that all the local newspapers put it in their newspaper. So I guess it's, you know, maybe we're getting some people not wanting to, but right now University Heights said they'll gladly put it in their newspaper, and, you know, we're working on the rest of them. So we're trying to do other than electronic notices.
Yeah, I did ask, I sent an email to
Yeah, Gail, Sharon, hang on just a second. Gail, did you have anything else you wanted to add in your time? Sorry, let's do it.
And then I guess there was about responding to the questions. I have received those questions, and remember, we're all just volunteers here. So to, you know, immediately or put this on, you know, post this, we'll try to do our best. I did the minutes of the last meeting and it was quite laborious. And so, you know, just need some time to do that. So I'm just going to make those comments. Thank you.
All right. Sharon, you're up.
I did ask, send an email to Patty Ducey Brooks asking her to put our flyer, put the information in her newspaper, the Presidio Sentinel. Hopefully she will. I haven't gotten a response. Hopefully she will do that. I've asked Mission Hills Town Council to send it out to their email list. So, and I posted notices about this, some 10 posters in the Mission Hills neighborhood in businesses. So things that are not electronic. Thank you.
All right, thank you. I'll start with the chart that's on the screen here. Let's see if I can make it any bigger. Hang on. I may not be able to on this. Well, I'll explain what the idea is here. There are 2 seats for every neighborhood, and there are 3-year term limits for every seat. So we wanted to stagger the terms such that each 3-year term didn't overlap precisely with the other one in the same neighborhood, so that there's always someone who has some history on the board, if that makes sense. So what this says is that in election cycle 1 and in the operating procedures, it puts some dates to that. The Bankers Hill owner seat, the Middletown owner seat, the Medical Center renter seat, and the University Heights renter seat will be up for election. The following year, Hillcrest owner, Mission Hills owner, Bankers Hill renter, and Middletown renter will be up, and so forth, right? So that's what will be on a normal ballot. On this ballot, all seats are up. So you will vote for a renter and an owner for every neighborhood, and it will be voted on by the residents or businesses registered in that neighborhood, so that you're choosing your representation for your neighborhood, because each of these neighborhoods has somewhat different challenges that they're facing. The business seats serve everyone. So we did the same thing in terms of not having them all expire at the same time. So of the 5 business seats, they just cycle through the election cycles. And what the nonprofit seat also cycles through. What that means for this first election, and maybe the second as well, if I think about it, is because every seat is up for election. At the first regular election, the people who were elected in cycle 1, I believe is the way it's written, will expire after 1 year. The people in cycle 2 will expire after 2 years. The people in cycle 3 will expire after the 3rd year. And then from that point on, it's every 3 years. That's an artifact of the fact that we have to elect the entire board this time. But that gets us into a cycle of 3-year terms. And I think there's a maximum of 2 terms and then a 1-year break. So you could serve for 6 years if you're reelected. Then you have to take a 1-year break. Then you go back into the next cycle for that seat. I hope that helps some. Hang on. So, Janet, since you asked that question, I'll go ahead and let you respond to that. Go ahead. There you go. You can respond, Janet.
Thank you. What I was wondering is what I got out of what you just said is I would be voting for 8 seats, 5 business seats, 1 nonprofit seat, and 2 seats in my community at this election.
That is correct.
That will change for year 2. Year 2, you're going to have the people that expire in year 1, and you're going to have the people that expire in year 2 during year 2, if I got that right.
You did.
And so, thank you. But what I don't understand is the 5 business seats. I used to own a business and I worked with everyone in the whole community, but I don't consider myself so localized in Mission Hills. I interject with everyone. I interject with the whole community and I feel deprived.
Yeah, that's why the business
Just so
seats
you
are at
know.
large. Everybody votes for all of the business seats all the time.
But as a neighbor, I still interface with my whole community. I don't just stay on my street or in my house. I go out. And so it's
Yeah.
very strange the way that this is set up. And I would just like to formally object to it. I realize that it's already set up and I hope that you'll change it next year and
That
that
will be
you'll
up to the
receive
full
other
board.
pushback.
Yeah, a change of that magnitude would be up to the full board. It's not something we could do, or even Zach could do at this point, because that would have to go before the city attorney and probably the city council to approve. So we are where we are for now. And if you want to change it, get on the board. Simplest answer for that. All right, thanks, Janet.
We have Karen Ebner. If we're open to public comment.
Let's see, I'm trying to think of what other questions were asked that I want to address before I take any more comments.
There was a question about large employers.
Large employers.
They will be non-voting when they're on the board.
Yeah, there was that, and there was a question about some of the rules about vacancy appointments and what that means for voting. The large employer seats are there to provide a voice in conversation of the employees that they represent. They don't have quite the level of stakeholder input, and most of them are quasi-government entities, and they requested to be non-voting. And we thought that made sense for people like UCSD and the school district, for example. So, but they will be appointed by the board after the board is seated. We do have the capability within the operating procedures, speaking, as the election committee, and is the only representatives of the UCPG right now, to fill vacancies. So should we not get all seats filled in this first election, what that would mean is that the board can ensure that every neighborhood has a voice. And if someone applies, they can appoint them. But in general, appointed seats are non-voting. There is an exception if the total number of seats on the board goes down below 10. The board can agree to make some of those voting so that we have at least 10 voting seats. But generally, appointed seats are non-voting. I hope that clears that up a little bit. As far as Lou's comments, we did read them. I gave some quick comments just so you know who that was. Sorry, I should have put my name on it. Others are looking at the full set of questions. We'll respond to it as we have a chance. As Gail said, we've got other personal priorities we need to deal with. So we will get those answered. And I thank you for sending that in, Lou. We will get there. As far as the recordings, that was the other one. It takes a little time to get those up into YouTube. It was a bit of a challenge to get YouTube to take anything as large as the last meeting was. That is up and the link is in the minutes. And so that will be the way that we do that going forward. The recordings will be placed in the minutes, or the link to it will be placed in the minutes. Or you can go out to the YouTube site once they're up there. Subscribe to the site and you'll be notified when it comes up. All right, I think that's all the comments that I have. Oh, and in terms of this, all I was saying in terms of the table that's up on the screen, that's not the one that's in the operating procedures. It needs to be the one in the operating procedures, and so I'll fix that. All right, looks like we have
Michael?
only one hand raised, so I'll go ahead and take that. So Michael,
Yes, hello.
Yeah, go ahead.
I missed my point just a little bit on the issue with UCSD as an example, and that is because they don't have the same oversight by the city. I think it would be inappropriate for them to be able to vote, even if it's a tiebreaker or a lack of quorum situation. So I hope you make that adjustment. I think it's fabulous to have all the big employers involved. I couldn't agree with you more, but I think that's a critical challenge, that if somebody can not only condemn, but has no oversight locally and then can provide oversight locally, that's a real difficult process. The other thing I wanted to mention was I really greatly appreciate your comments about controlling the list and people's identification. But I would also like to suggest that in the bylaws somewhere that it's called out that anybody with the access to that shall not be allowed to share it for any reason other than specific Uptown Community Group planning purposes. And if they do, they lose their seat. So I think it's a valuable list that could be used for all kinds of purposes, and you can make people feel better about their participation and the security of it if there's a strong penalty for people abusing it. Thank you very much for your time.
All right, both of those are great questions. I just want to clarify, the large employer seats are non-voting. They are never voting in any case. So even if we drop below 10, those seats don't become voting.
So that's a change in the bylaws then. Thank you.
I don't think it is for those two seats. Those were designated non-voting completely.
Well, I underlined and highlighted them and shared it with Zach
All right.
before.
Yeah. If it does allow that, then that's great. And to your second point, I'm a big proponent of adjusting the bylaws as the community grows and changes. And so once the board is seated, I would bring that to their attention, because they're the ones who can fix it. I can't make changes from the election committee here. I can't make changes to the operating procedures. All right, thank you.
I have Lou Railing and Karen Ebner if we're still doing.
Okay, and those will be the last two comments.
Okay.
For this. I have a hard stop at 2. What else is left on the agenda? Hang on, let me check that before I do that.
That's it.
Oh no, I'm going to have to go ahead and call it for now. We've got the in-person election locations and dates and volunteer update on the next meeting, and we've got 30 minutes.
Okay.
So thank you all for your comments. If you have further comments, feel free to send an email to contact@uptowncommunityplanning.org. Let's go ahead and move on. So what we're looking for is locations for one and possibly a second mid-election in-person voting. The meeting on August 20th will include in-person voting. The one thing I know for sure is it will not be at the Joyce Beers Center, because it has no usable Wi-Fi. So we need a place that is accessible generally to the community and has usable Wi-Fi and is accessible to anybody who might want to be there, including people under 21 or people who have disabilities and need that kind of accessibility. And we are open to suggestions. Among the places that I've considered, just to throw them out there, there are some wonderful facilities that are very accessible at St. Paul's Cathedral between 5th and 6th Avenue. When they built the new building there, they created some really good meeting spaces and courtyards, which would be perfect for this type of election. There's also one It's also a church, as it happens. We're kind of short on really good meeting spaces in these neighborhoods. It's over next to UCSD in Medical Center. They have a parking lot and good facilities and some good meeting rooms. I know I was at a
The Universalist Church? Is that
Universalist Church, yeah. They have some good facilities. I know I was at a District 3 candidate forum there, and it worked out fairly well. And I know the guy who can get us access to that. So do either of the board members have other comments, questions, suggestions? And then I'll take public comment. We'll do kind of
So I would suggest maybe also how about the LGBT center? Could we do, is that an option?
It is potentially. I have spoken to a contact I have there, and he's willing to reserve it for us. They don't generally take meetings after their hours of operation, which I think end at like 5 or 7, something like that. And this would have to go later because the election ends at 8. The announcement of results and the seating of the board is at 9 on the 20th. And then if they want to do any business after that, that's up to them. But they probably will at least set the date of their first meeting. But yeah, I'm happy to ask the center now that we have dates whether they're willing to work with us on that.
And I'm kind of leaning towards 2.
Okay.
Not just the 20th, but I guess I'd like to hear what others.
Sorry, I didn't mention the other one, but yeah, those are just locations.
Right. Those are locations.
Probably be good for two in-person election events as well.
We might want to also consider some location that would work for at least when the board has their first couple of meetings. And then they can decide where they're going to meet.
Yeah, it's going to be up to them where they meet, whether it's a regular place or whether they rotate through the neighborhoods. I hope it's the latter. I think we really wanted to get this participation driven down into the neighborhoods.
Well, so if we do 2 voting, we don't have to, the one that's on the 20th goes late, but the other one doesn't have to be like a late night one. So we could.
No, not at all. It could be something completely different.
So we could almost even consider the library if we could get the community room, that might be something too. I'm just saying if we.
That's an option.
Yeah.
That has to be an earlier timing because they close at what, 5?
Right. So since we're going late on the 20th, I wouldn't mind the other one being, a little bit different time.
Maybe a Saturday afternoon.
Yeah. I guess that would be.
So I want to make sure people who work have access as well as those who don't. And that's been kind of a challenge that we've had for the elections is, people get off work at 6 and it's pretty much over.
Yeah, I think I think a Saturday would be a good idea.
All right. So we've got some ideas floating out there. I'll take a couple of comments and then we're going to have to move on with some quick updates. I apologize. I have obviously the way I'm dressed, I have another engagement shortly after this that I have to drive to.
So,
all right, so
I think before we open up for comments, I can look into a Saturday at the library or a Saturday at, which other one did I say? You said you have a contact.
I'll check the center, and for another reason, I think I can get to the contact information for St. Paul's. That gives us one in Bankers Hill.
Yeah.
The Guild Room, for example, would be perfect there. And one in Mission Hills. And we look for one in Hillcrest if either of those don't work out.
Should we look at a Saturday date now?
Uh, let's find out what's available. And then
Okay.
propose a date at our next meeting.
Okay.
I want to start with availability on that one. Because it really doesn't matter which Saturday it is. Just that we can get a location.
Got it.
That's free. We can't do anything where we'd have to pay
Yeah, we also went for,
the budget.
Yeah.
we have no, yeah, we don't have access to the budget. If we spend money, we have to request reimbursement from the board once they're seated.
Okay. We have a
All
couple
right.
people in the queue if you want to go. Lou Railing.
Let's see, it's 20 till. I'm going to suggest if you have comments on locations and dates, please email the board. I apologize. I want to get through an update on volunteers and the next meeting and its primary agenda items before we leave here. So the update on volunteers, let me check real quick. I think I know the answer. Is last time I checked, we don't have any. But I'll check real quick here. The process is pretty straightforward. I can actually bring that up here. Oh, that's one page too far.
So go to the website.
So under election committee, if you scroll down past the ugly pictures, here is where you can sign up for one of the two teams. And here's what we ask for. First, last name, email, phone number, and then which team you would prefer, and then any comments you want to make. All we really ask is that you are not a candidate, that you live within Uptown, and that you intend to make the election a success. It's pretty straightforward. And we encourage folks to sign up and volunteer. Let's see, are you able to? Okay. All right. I was looking at the wrong one. Hang on. I've got 2 copies of this on my screen and I clicked through. Why isn't that coming up? Oh, I know what it is. I need to share this page.
I can put it in the minutes too.
Yeah. All right. Hang tight. Let me bring up the actual volunteer application page and share that. But through the election committee tab here, that's how you get there. Okay. Here's what you actually get. And so it's a very simple application: name, email, phone number, what team you want to work on, which are described above, and then any comments or questions you may have. I encourage folks to sign up and volunteer.
Great.
All right. There was also a suggestion that I show what you get when you do a voter registration. It was mentioned earlier that it's a pretty straightforward thing that you will see. when you register to vote, which is fairly simple, you will get back an email with a document attached to it.
Michael, I think it's important to mention that you should black out anything you, like if you,
I did. That's
yeah,
why
take a
I'm showing
picture.
this particular version of it.
Yeah. I mean, when you're sending in your document, like your driver's license, you know, block out the stuff that you don't. I mean, obviously we need to see the address, but
All we need is the address. We don't need account numbers or anything else. Is this not going to let me do this?
here you
Okay,
go.
you'll get a document that looks like this. I've blacked out my address and email, my personal information, but it echoes the questions that you answer when you register to vote: your name, your address, email, phone number, and email or phone number is required if you register online and you want a ballot via email. You need an email address. If you want a ballot via SMS, you need a phone number. You don't need both at any time. You select which voting method you want, whether you'd like to be added to our mailing list, what community that we will validate, and then whatever qualification documents you submit. And just as I've done here, feel free to black it out, the information that we don't need to see. All right.
Okay.
All right. My sense is that we may have time for a comment or two. Let's see. Our next meeting, I want to schedule a meeting before July the 20th, because that's when we will publish the candidate list. And I believe that there's a requirement that we allow comment on that. So I'm happy to go like the
11?
or 19th, somewhere in there that week of July, and have a meeting where we go through the candidate list.
I'm good with the 18th.
Yeah. I am theoretic, either the 18th or 19th. I'm speaking on a panel. They haven't notified me which day.
Let's try another date, like the
UCSD, maybe the 7th. Let me look real quick.
the 16th or 17th.
Let me bring up my calendar. Oh. That whole Pride week has gotten kind of crazy. The 17th is actually pretty good for me. Just 10 to 11:30 is, everything else is fine.
Should we do this? Can you do the 17th from, again? Can we make it?
Same time,
You make it like 1 to 2:30 or something?
1 to 2:30.
Yeah.
We can do that. And we'll need to notify all of the candidates that will be publishing essentially the list on that day.
Okay.
In other words, last call to change your mind.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Is there anything that we need to accomplish before that?
Well, I just think we should know the date of the other in-person by then.
All right, let's see what we can do in terms of nailing those down, and then we'll schedule a meeting to to allow people to comment on what we've found. But I won't schedule that one yet. We'll give 72 hours notice and all the same things. And by the way, I think it was Tom who commented on preferring to do it in person. I really prefer to do these in person too, but I can't tolerate another meeting like the last one.
I second that. I was traumatized after that last one, and
Yeah, you know, if people are willing to abide by the rules and act with a bit of decorum, we'll go back to in person. If not, we'll keep this up. But for now, I'll assume this unless I hear back some commitment. All right, anything else?
did you want to open it up before? Got a couple of minutes.
Yeah, I'll give you about a minute, Lou and Cliff, and then we'll close it down. So Lou, you're up. As soon as it clicks in there. Yep, there you go.
Hi. So being cut off in the way that other people were not cut off is problematic. How you've handled the agenda, how you've handled public speaking. I will say that Tom's request that my questions be answered, they were not frivolous, they are not trivial, they are material to this, and that they be published on the website and widely shared. I'm not sure why you wouldn't share them today. I didn't make them all up myself. I compiled them from a number of people. People are confused and have questions about the election. They're important. With regard to volunteers, you said one of your criteria would be whether or not people wanted the election to succeed. I'd like to know how you might determine that. What will be your subjective judgment on that? And then I also wanted to ask again that you publish this on the website, the recording, not in the minutes, which obviously take time and come later. There's no reason if you have a YouTube link not to put it on the website as opposed to waiting until the minutes come out. We don't know when that will be. And this, there's a lot that came up in this meeting that we couldn't record because of how you did it on Google Meet. So I would appreciate that. And I would also appreciate you in future, when you schedule a meeting until 2, having it available till 2, having it open until 2, having an opportunity for public comment on every agenda item. For example, you did not allow public comment on the topic of locations that was an agenda topic that was here. I would offer you suggestions on that, and I would, including Joyce Beers Center, of course, which is a familiar and has been a hospitable and well-working and accessible voting location in the past. And I would also encourage you to set your meetings, another meeting soon, so that you can actually answer questions, have time for public comments, hear it in whatever form you find least traumatizing, of course. Thanks.
All right. Thanks, Lou. And I apologize if I cut you off too abruptly. There's no intention not to answer your questions. We just haven't had time to compile the answers. It's as simple as that. All right, Clifford, you will be next. Hang on a second here. All right, Cliff, you're up.
Okay, and I hope you can hear me.
Yes.
Okay. Couple things on the location. The Mission Hills Library might close early, but if you have the voting outside, the public can access it after the library closes. And also in terms of location, I don't know the restaurants that well because I go to fast food places, but hopefully maybe there's a restaurant that's big enough that does catering or in-house parties that would love to have people come to them to see their facility and would be willing to be able to hold the voting there. And in terms of the process, I'm going to have a tough time volunteering because I don't understand it, and I'm thoroughly computer illiterate. For example, the screen that you showed about registration, I have no idea how to put my driver's license on the screen. And I think that it's reflective possibly of a generation gap. The younger people know how to do all this. The older people, unless they have children or grandchildren around, they're not going to be able to figure it out.
Yeah, that's why we're doing both in person and electronic, because we recognize that even
But
among younger people, not everybody is computer
right.
literate.
And I appreciate that. But the question that I had in my mind as we were going through this is, can I show up at the voting place with my driver's license and vote then? I suspect not, because you will not be able to have verified that I live in Mission Hills.
As long as it has your current address on it, we're good. We can verify that address is in Mission Hills, and we'll set up a ballot for you.
Okay, and one last thing. I'm sorry that none of you three can actually run for the board, because you seem like good volunteers and very well-meaning people. So thank you for doing what you're doing.
Thank you.
I've said this publicly before, and I'll say it again. This is a 30-year plan. At the end of this 30-year plan, I'll be in my 90s. I would rather people who are going to be around when the plan hits fruition are determining what the future of the community is. I'll work on current stuff. And so I'm not going to run. It's as simple as that for me. Others feel differently, and that's fine.
Thank you.
Let's see, we still got a couple minutes. So Michael Meacham, hang on, let me get you set up here.
I was just going to say that I'm sorry. I wasn't at the last meeting, but if you guys were not treated with the dignity and respect that your volunteerism deserves, I am very sorry about that. I hope that we will find a way to meet in person in the future. I think the work you're doing is very important. And I think you guys have done a great job, and it inspired me while you were talking to go on and volunteer. I'd like to help with the get out the vote component. So thanks for your service.
Thank you for your comments. All right. With that, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
I'll second that.
I'll abstain. So we will adjourn at 1:54. All right. Thank you so much to everybody who took the time out of their day to come and join us. We do really appreciate it. Take care. Stop recording.